Hey, how's it going, YouTube? I'm back in the video, and today I'm going to be talking about what would happen if Bradley Beal was traded to the Brooklyn Nets. As a lot of you already probably know, if you do keep up with like rumors and stuff that are around the NBA, Bradley Beal has been heavily rumored so far to be getting traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and that like the Nets are kind of like discussing trades with the Washington Wizards for Bradley Beal. I'll be getting to what I think the trade package would look like, why I think both teams would want to do the trade, and how it could like really impact the Brooklyn Nets if they were able to pull off this trade. I'll be getting all that in this video, so if you do like the video, hit the like button and subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. And without further ado, without running on too much, just get right into this video. Alright, so let's get into the video, and the first thing I'm beginning to is going to be what the trade package would actually look like. Well, I would have the Brooklyn Nets giving up Spencer Dinwiddie, Caris LeVert, and DeAndre Jordan, and a 2020 Philadelphia first round pick, while the Washington Wizards would be giving up Bradley Beal, Isaac Bonga, and the 2020 Chicago second rounder. Now, let me explain the trade a little bit, why I have this happening and why I constructed it the way I did. Spencer Dinwiddie, because he's a legit solid point guard or shooting guard, wherever you want. He can score the ball. He's a pretty decent veteran. Caris LeVert's pretty young, is very athletic, a very decent shooting guard, and it would at least be able to somewhat replace what you're losing in Bradley Beal. And then I also have DeAndre Jordan getting traded as well, because DeAndre Jordan's contract is needed to go into this trade. It was originally going to be Jared Allen, but the money just did not add up. Also, I kind of took Jared Allen out because I was like, losing Caris LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Jared Allen would be pretty much giving up three huge contributors to your team, and I just don't think Bradley Beal is worth that and a first round pick. So they're getting three very solid players, two players that are very good. DeAndre Jordan is like aging, but he can still be a usable center. You're getting Philadelphia's first round pick in 2020. And all the Wizards have to give up is Bradley Beal and Isaac Bonga. Isaac Bonga is strictly there just to make the money work. At best, if he develops, he could probably be a low-end rotation player, but I doubt he even sees the court for the Nets, so he probably would get cut. And the 2020 second rounder is just like so they don't lose like too much, because they are giving up three very good players and a pick in the first round. So Bradley Beal and a second rounder basically for three solid players and a first rounder. So yeah, I think the trade is very fair. It matches up money-wise, and I think this is about what the trade would probably look like. Now, the Nets could go a route where they give up less players but more picks, but I don't think they want to do that, especially after what happened last time. They tried to go that same route, and they ended up screwing their entire future for years to come. But now that we got the trade out of the way and why I put it like this and why I think it would look like this, let's get into why both teams would do this. Let's get into the less interesting side, which is the Washington Wizards. The Wizards badly need to rebuild their team, as when they're healthy, they're a fringe playoff team with John Wall and Bradley Beal. And when they're not healthy, they're a bottom feeder team. And I think they definitely need to rebuild because, just as they are right now in their cap situation and everything, they're not going to be able to get any better than they are right now. So with that being said, the first step to a rebuild is deconstructing the current roster that you have. Now, obviously, they're going to keep players like Roy Hachimura and probably Thomas Bryant, because those are young players that do have some potential behind them. So they're going to keep them. I'm mainly talking about Bradley Beal and John Wall. And since John Wall has one of the most untradeable contracts in the NBA, it will most likely be Bradley Beal, at least at first. And I think Bradley Beal would definitely be probably the first one to go, because he is definitely the more proven one. He has a lot less injury history, and he's younger, and it would just make more sense. So Bradley Beal is most likely going to go first. And now what they would be able to do with this trade, now yes, they're losing a star in Bradley Beal and probably one of the more underrated stars in the NBA, but they would be getting a young guy in Caris LeVert who does have some upside and still a little bit of potential and showed tons of potential in the playoffs last season. And then, Spencer Dinwiddie, who's a very good point guard, probably top 15 point guard in the NBA, and a starting level center in DeAndre Jordan. So they would at least be getting a pretty big jumpstart to their rebuild, plus they would be getting more draft capital, which is extremely, extremely important in any successful rebuild. So anytime you can get a first rounder and some young guys and just some other players on your team that can at least maybe keep you decent but not good enough to make the playoffs, that is always probably your best course of action. Because in order to rebuild, you pretty much have to tank at least 1 or 2 years, get good draft picks, and then build through the draft, and then maybe free agents will come to your team. So that's basically why I think the Wizards would do this, just to deconstruct the roster, get 3 decent players, and a first rounder, mainly for the first rounder. And now why the Brooklyn Nets would want to do this, because the Nets would be getting a legit star in Bradley Beal. Yes, Bradley Beal got snubbed from the playoffs, from the All-Star game this season. I think he was one of the biggest snubs in the entire NBA by far, not even close. And I mean, Bradley Beal is a legit star, borderline superstar level shooting guard, and you'd be pairing that up with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And I mean, imagine that big three offensively. Kyrie, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant. All three of those guys easily can go for 30 on any given night, even maybe more than that. I think Bradley Beal had a 2-game stretch where he went like back-to-back 50-plus point games this season. So all three of those guys are more than capable of going off and carrying an offense on any given night. All three of those guys are basically unguardable, and Kevin Durant's a top 3 player in the NBA. That is a legit finals contender, and they'd be going from pretenders to contenders. Because I don't personally think Kyrie and Kevin Durant are enough to beat teams like LeBron, Anthony Davis, and the Lakers, or Kawhi and Paul George with the Clippers. I don't think they're good enough yet, but if you add Bradley Beal to this mix, you will be giving them a big 3 going against a big 2, and they would definitely have a chance in a 7-game series against the upper echelon teams in the NBA. And I definitely think that they would be able to get through the Milwaukee Bucks in the East, and I think it would be a very, very interesting thing to watch them going, like, really compete in the NBA Finals, and I think it would be a very, very fun series and a fun team to watch if they were to make this trade. And I mean, they badly need to do this because really, to be a contender in today's NBA, you either have to have a big three of like 1 superstar and 2 all-stars, or you need a big 2 of 2 mega superstars. And the Brooklyn Nets currently would be having that, as Kyrie and KD are probably 2 superstars, and Bradley Beal is an upper echelon all-star in the NBA, and I don't see many teams being able to stop this offense at all. And then you add players like Jared Allen, and I mean, probably, who's their power forward? Is Terrence Prince? No, Prince isn't on the roster. Whoever their power forward would be. I mean, Jared Allen is a very good rim protector, very good rebounder, and be the perfect center for this team, and a perfect role player, and then whatever free agent they would plug into the power forward position. I mean, this team would be sitting pretty going into the next season and would definitely be legit finals contenders. And now, what do I think would happen with the Nets if they were to make this trade? I think the Nets would definitely become contenders, and for how long? I mean, once LeBron starts regressing, which has to be soon. The dude's getting old. He's not inhuman. Like, he has to start regressing soon, and once LeBron starts regressing, this big 3 would have potential to dominate the NBA for years to come if they stay together. That would be how good they are, because, I mean, Kawhi and Paul George, yes, those are 2 great defensive players, and they're going to give them trouble, but I would say Kevin Durant is on the same level as Kawhi and better than Paul George. Kyrie is by far better than Patrick Beverley, and Bradley Beal is by far better than whatever shooting guard they're going to be able to find. So I just personally think the Nets would be sitting extremely pretty if they made this deal, and the Wizards would also be able to jumpstart their rebuild by doing this trade as well. It would benefit both parties, and I would just love to see this deal, because I mean, it would give us another contender, and the more contenders that have a chance to win the NBA Finals, it makes them more fun NBA, because that way it makes it less predictable, and that's always more fun to watch than if you know who's going to win the championship, like when the Warriors had Kevin Durant. So yeah, but unfortunately, guys, that's going to be for this video. So comment below, do you agree with me? Do you think Beal to the Nets would lead them to be contenders, or do you still think they wouldn't be able to compete for the finals? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe button and roll to me. Hope you have a blessed day. Cat out a blessed day. So you need to have a blessed day. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.